8:55 a.m., April 13th, 2020. So I'm just like putting the dishes away and sitting here. I got Margaret's food made and her crackers. Putting the dishes away, thinking about calling Palouse River mental health and all that, and thinking about old Birkenstock and what his name ought to be and why they changed that room so fast. That room where the old stove, the very fucking recognizable classic. I mean, it had to have been a classic, some kind of special bigwig, because everything here is special bigwig classic stuff. Subtle, special, like the crumb caca fucking cast thing. Anyway, so I'm thinking about old Birkenstock and what the significance of that room must have been, that big conference room with the round white tables and the round white chairs. Everyone must have been spent decades, because I've watched that place set people up to be tortured in the public school system via gossip and scandal about very personalized stuff. I've watched that since, I guess, the middle of 7th grade, but I had no idea what was going on until at least 8th grade, maybe. But yeah. And I've watched other people that are actually in that caregiver for the mentally disabled industry, and the programs that they run, because they are programs that are run. My husband was in that industry. And I've watched the intellectualsia, the fucking professors, make fun of people in very subtle ways where they're not saying the name, they're not breaking confidentiality, but they are very specifically discussing very specific people. Because what do they have here? They have a lot of single name people like me. I'm a total anomaly just by my name here. And except for now, I've met other RANIs, but as a kid I hadn't. So then I'm thinking about his little charade with me. So his deal with me was like, I had spilt coffee upstairs. Mindful was dragging me around. My coffee is just like ha 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 everywhere, just everywhere. And Darren or Derek or whatever his name, the boy receptionist, the male receptionist, they got a male receptionist to come in, and then they got Asian receptionists. All these different games, that programming games, shrink psychologist programming games. Ha ha ha. We're going to talk about the safe game played by Alicia, Luann, and Chrissy, but not right now. So this dude, old Birkenstock, the next thing I go to a group in the evening, and I'm a little late, and old Birkenstock comes down into that room with the white tables, and he's just like, oh, spilling his coffee everywhere. And it was like a charades of what had gone on with me. And I bought Derek or Darren or whatever some cookies, and then I bought some cookies to go down to the group too. So I brought cookies and apology and everything. I mean, I totally recognized that I had spilled coffee like everywhere. It was, while my giant puppy dragged me all around, and my coffee was just going everywhere. And it's just like, oh my God. And so, but he did charades on me in front of what's her face, Lisa Pearl. And then my response was just like, I didn't even recognize that it was about, I mean, I did recognize, but I was just like, oh my God, this old man and this coffee everywhere. So I did my usual thing, and I got fucking paper towels and I cleaned him up, right? I cleaned up all his coffee, and he must have felt like a dick, but immediately that room got turned into offices, and all the counselors that hadn't had offices and were sharing offices with other people all of a sudden started getting their offices. And that was just one stalking surveillance thing, and I already turned in that Polly suggested that I go back to counseling when I quit the counseling after that last group where they made mindful unsafe. Yeah, that was after the safe game on me. But where they made mindful unsafe, and I talked about the starfish thing with Luann, and she's all like, oh, and they played that game, and there was just like program after program. But this one, yeah. So that must have just gone on for decades, where they would just do charades in that room, and they'd all just be sitting there politely, maybe having their coffee or their donuts or their pastry or their fucking wholesome alfalfa sprout vegetarian sandwich whole grain bread lunch in their Birkenstocks, doing their, left wing thing. and doing charades on people, and then that would get passed to the public schools via these people's privileged little fucking children, who would then come to school and kind of parrot the charades at us. How rude. How very Nazi too, because they very much have Nazi-ish names. And I'm saying Nazi, but what? I'm half Nazi, right? Half one thing, half the other. When I German. Sorry, German people. But like, I mean, they're even talking about it on some movie, how you guys came over, the not you guys, but the population of the actual real Hitler Nazi people came over and just became United States CIA and intelligence agencies. And I guess that's what surrounds me, right? Multiple different intelligence agencies. And that's what Palouse River Mental Health is about, is intelligence agency. And the studies that go on here at Washington State University Psychology Department with the two forced fucking deep probe evaluations that I was forced to get for my Social Security, and then I had went through all that trouble to finally get them at my counselors. Then I wasn't even allowed to hold the report. Wasn't even allowed to hold the report or read it. I could ask questions of my counselor specifically about the report, but I wasn't allowed to hold the report and read my own fucking forced. But they have it, they own it. The reason I can't read it is because Department of Social and Health Services of Washington State University, et cetera, owns that report because they paid for it, even though they forced me to get that report in order to get my Social Security, to get it done twice. And you have to sign a paper that says that you won't hold the Washington State University Psychology Department accountable or responsible for the bad decisions you might make about personal relationships, financial relationships, and etc. over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, which is exactly the amount of time that it takes your mind to get set back in, and the exact amount of time that before they ordered me into the second one. And then I finally got better from it again. And then what happened with the fucking gas shit back there in the areas where you can't even get a seal on, where I got all this tape and I tape, and then what happens? They freak out and create this giant leak to go with that one. Yeah, the timeline is very funny. I'm uploading this.